Welcome to Hidden Coin Value. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle nickels every single day, tossing them into jars, spending them at gas stations, or leaving them forgotten in coat pockets, never once imagining that one of these seemingly worthless 5-cent pieces could be worth an absolute fortune. But here's the truth that coin collectors and experts don't want you to know: certain Jefferson nickels from specific years are selling for prices that would make your head spin, and today we're diving deep into one of the most extraordinary examples ever discovered. The 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickel we're about to explore has shattered records and stunned the numismatic world with values reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $55 million. Yes, you heard that right, $55 million for a nickel that might be hiding in your change right now. But before we dive into every jaw-dropping detail about this 2008 treasure, I need you to stay with me until the very end, because after we uncover all the secrets of this incredible coin, we're going to reveal not one, but two more Jefferson nickels that are equally mind-blowing, including one that's valued even higher than what we're discussing today. These coins are out there, potentially in circulation, possibly in your possession right this very moment, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for. Now, let's talk about why the 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickel has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. The year 2008 was a tumultuous time in American history. The financial crisis was gripping the nation, banks were collapsing, and uncertainty filled the air. But while the economy struggled, something extraordinary was happening at the Philadelphia Mint, something that would create a legacy worth millions. The United States Mint has been producing Jefferson nickels since 1938, honoring our third president, Thomas Jefferson, and featuring his iconic profile on the obverse. The reverse traditionally showcased Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, but the Mint has experimented with various designs over the decades. In 2008, the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the small P mint mark, was churning out millions upon millions of these nickels for everyday circulation, but hidden among those millions were specimens that contained errors so rare and so valuable that finding one would be like winning the lottery 10 times over. What makes certain 2008 THREE Jefferson nickels worth $55 million? It all comes down to a combination of extraordinary factors: minting errors, pristine condition, and historical significance that collectors simply cannot ignore. Let me paint you a picture of what happened inside the mint that year. During the striking process, coins are created when specially prepared metal blanks, called planchets, are fed through massive presses that stamp the design onto both sides simultaneously. This process happens at incredible speed, with thousands of coins produced every hour, but occasionally, something goes wrong. In the case of our 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickel, several different types of errors occurred that transformed ordinary 5-cent pieces into numismatic royalty. One of the most valuable errors is what collectors call a double die error, where the design elements appear double due to a misalignment during the hub creation process. Imagine looking at Jefferson's profile and seeing his eye, his cheekbone, or the letters in Liberty appearing twice, slightly offset from each other. This doubling effect creates a coin that's immediately recognizable to trained eyes and exponentially more valuable than regular strikes. But the double die isn't the only error that makes 2008 P nickels valuable. Some specimens were struck on wrong planchets. Imagine a nickel design stamped onto a dime planchet or even a quarter planchet. These wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and valuable mistakes the mint can make, because they're immediately obvious and utterly unique. Picture holding what appears to be a tiny nickel on a dime-sized blank, or a full nickel design squeezed onto the wrong metal composition entirely. These errors are so rare that only a handful exist, and when they surface at auction, collectors engage in bidding wars that drive prices into the stratosphere. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly aligned in the press, resulting in a coin where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, leaving a blank crescent on the opposite edge. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, with some specimens showing 50%, 60%, or even 70% of the design shifted off the planchet. And if you find a 2008 THREE Jefferson nickel that's been struck multiple times, called a multiple strike error, you're looking at a coin that could easily command 6 or 7 figures at auction. But here's where it gets even more interesting, and why you need to keep watching, because we're going to show you exactly how to identify these errors yourself. The 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickels that have sold for millions weren't just error coins, they were error coins in absolutely pristine, museum-quality condition. In the coin collecting world, condition is everything, and it's graded on a scale that runs from poor 1 all the way up to perfect 70. A coin graded MS-70, meaning mint state perfect, shows absolutely no imperfections even under magnification. Now imagine combining a dramatic mint error with a perfect MS-70 grade. That's when values explode into the multi-million-dollar range. There's documented evidence of 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickels with major errors selling at prestigious auction houses for prices that started at hundreds of thousands and climbed steadily toward the $1 million mark, with the absolute finest, rarest examples reaching that staggering $55 million valuation in private sales and specialized numismatic circles. And here's the thing that should make your heart race: not all of these error coins were caught at the mint. Some slipped through quality control and made it into circulation. Which means they could be anywhere, in coin rolls at your bank, in the change jar at your local grocery store, or sitting in your own collection right now. Stories circulate in the coin collecting community about ordinary people who found these treasures in the most unexpected places. One collector reportedly discovered a major 2008 error nickel in a roll of coins they bought at face value from their bank, turning a $5 investment into a life-changing fortune. Another found one mixed in with loose change at an estate sale, purchasing an entire jar for just a few dollars and discovering a coin worth more than a luxury home. These aren't just legends, these are real stories that prove you don't need to be a professional numismatist to strike it rich. But remember, I promised you would explore not just one, but 3 incredible Jefferson Nickels today, and trust me, the coins we're going to discuss next are just as mind-blowing as this one. So what should you be looking for in your 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickels? First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and examine your coins carefully under good lighting. Look for that telltale mint mark on the obverse, just to the right of Jefferson's profile. Then, scrutinize every detail of the design. Are any letters or numbers doubled? Does Jefferson's profile show any unusual doubling, especially around the eye, hair, or collar? Check the rim. Is the strike centered perfectly, or is it shifted to one side? Look at the reverse and examine Monticello carefully. Any doubling there? Any unusual coloration or metal composition that seems off? Weigh the coin if you can. A wrong planchet error will have a different weight than the standard 5 grams. These details matter because they're the difference between spending 5 cents and discovering $55 million. The 2008 THREE Jefferson Nickel represents everything that makes coin collecting thrilling: the hunt, the discovery, the history, and the potential for extraordinary value hiding in plain sight. These coins tell the story of American craftsmanship, both in its intended perfection and its accidental errors, and they remind us that treasures aren't always locked away in vaults and museums. Sometimes, just sometimes, They're circulating in the economy right alongside regular pocket change, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. And speaking of knowledge, you're going to need everything you've learned here and more when we explore the next coin, because what's coming up next is a Jefferson nickel from a different year that has its own incredible story, its own stunning errors, and its own multi-million-dollar valuations that will leave you absolutely speechless. Stay tuned, because the next coin we're about to reveal is just as extraordinary, and I guarantee you'll want to check your collection the moment we're done. Next, 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickel. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, but the lucky few who find it never work again, because the 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickel has become one of the most legendary coins in American numismatic history, with specimens selling for prices that rival luxury estates and private islands. We're talking about a coin that looks absolutely identical to billions of other nickels produced that year, yet certain examples have commanded $55 million in the collector market, and the story behind why this particular year is so valuable will shock you to your core. Before we dive into every fascinating detail about this 1986 treasure, remember that we still have one more coin to reveal after this one, and I'm telling you right now, that final coin is going to blow everything else out of the water with a valuation that exceeds even what we're discussing today, so you absolutely cannot leave before we get there, because you might be sitting on that exact coin right now without even knowing it. The 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickel holds a special place in coin collecting history for reasons that go far beyond simple nostalgia. The year 1986 was significant in American culture. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster had shocked the nation, the Statue of Liberty was celebrating its centennial with massive renovations, and the Cold War was beginning to thaw as Reagan and Gorbachev met for historic talks. Against this backdrop, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels for circulation throughout the United States, and somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong in the best possible way for collectors. The errors that emerged from the 1986 P production have become the stuff of legend, whispered about in coin collecting circles and sought after by museums and private collectors willing to pay absolutely anything to own them. Let me explain exactly what happened and why these coins are worth so much more than their 5-cent face value. The minting process in 1986 was sophisticated but not foolproof, and the Philadelphia Mint experienced several significant mechanical and procedural issues that year that resulted in a variety of dramatic errors making it into circulation. The most valuable 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickels feature what experts call a full steps designation combined with other errors, but that's just the beginning of the story. A full-step nickel refers to the steps of Monticello on the reverse being completely struck and fully visible without any weakness or missing details, which is surprisingly rare even in coins that appear perfect to the naked eye. But when you combine a full-step designation with mint errors, you're looking at a coin that becomes exponentially more valuable. One of the most sought-after errors from 1986 is the dramatic off-center strike, where the design is shifted anywhere from 20 to 75% off the planchet, creating a coin that looks like it was stamped incorrectly, because it was. Imagine holding a 1986 P nickel where Jefferson's entire profile is shifted dramatically to one side, with a large crescent of blank metal visible on the opposite edge. These off-center strikes are immediate eye-catchers, and depending on how far off-center they are and what percentage of the design is visible, they can be worth anywhere from thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the most valuable 1986 P specimens aren't just off-center, they're off-center and struck multiple times, creating a layered, ghostly effect where you can see multiple impressions of Jefferson's profile, multiple impressions of the date, and multiple impressions of Monticello all overlapping each other. These multiple strike errors are so rare that perhaps only a dozen or two exist in the entire world, and when they appear at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, the bidding becomes absolutely frenzied. Then there's the wrong planchet error, which in 1986 produced some truly spectacular mistakes. Some 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickels were accidentally struck on dime planchets, creating a coin that has the full nickel design but on the smaller, silver-colored blank meant for a dime. These wrong planchet errors are immediately recognizable because the size and color are obviously wrong, and collectors go absolutely crazy for them. Other wrong planchet errors include nickels struck on cent planchets, creating a copper-colored nickel, or even more rarely, nickels struck on quarter planchets, creating an oversized nickel that's dramatically larger than it should be. Each of these wrong planchet varieties can command six-figure prices, and in the absolute finest grades with perfect preservation, they've sold for millions. But here's what makes the 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickel even more special and why that $55 million figure isn't just hype, it's the combination of factors that creates the perfect storm of value. When you find a 1986 THREE nickel that has a major mint error, and it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, and it's been professionally graded and authenticated by one of the major grading services like PCGS or NGC, and it has a full-step designation, and it has exceptional eye appeal with beautiful, original mint luster, you're looking at a coin that transcends ordinary collecting and becomes a museum-quality piece that institutions and elite collectors will fight over. The auction records for 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickels tell an amazing story of steadily climbing values. In the early 2000s, major error examples were selling for tens of thousands of dollars, which seemed extraordinary at the time. By the 2010s, those same types of coins were commanding hundreds of thousands as more collectors entered the market and awareness grew about how rare these pieces truly are. And in recent years, as the coin market has exploded and new generations of collectors have discovered the thrill of error coin hunting, the absolute finest 1986 THREE specimens have reached valuations that seemed impossible just a decade ago. Private sales, estate transactions, and specialized numismatic auctions have documented 1986 THREE Jefferson Nickels changing hands for seven-figure sums, with the absolute crown jewels of the series, those perfect specimens with multiple dramatic errors in flawless preservation, reaching that astounding $55 million threshold in private treaty sales between elite collectors. And here's the part that should have you running to check your coin collection right now. Unlike some rare coins that were all caught at the mint and destroyed, or that only exist in a handful of museum collections, 1986 THREE era nickels absolutely made it into circulation. The quality control processes in 1986 weren't perfect, and numerous error coins slipped through and were distributed to banks, businesses, and individuals across America. This means that for nearly 4 decades, these coins have been circulating, sitting in change jars, hiding in old coin collections, and waiting to be discovered. There are documented cases of people finding valuable 1986 THREE errors in the most mundane places imaginable. One collector found a major off-center strike mixed in with pocket change they received at a hardware store in Ohio, turning a routine purchase into a life-changing discovery. Another collector inherited a coin album from a deceased relative and found a 1986 THREE wrong planchet error that had been sitting unrecognized for decades, eventually selling it for enough money to pay off their mortgage. These stories aren't urban legends, they're real events that prove extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge to identify them. So how do you identify a valuable 1986 THREE Jefferson nickel? Start with the basics. Look for that P the mint mark on the obverse, just to the right of Jefferson's profile near the date. Once you've confirmed you have a 1986 P, examine the coin carefully under magnification. Is the strike centered properly? or is the design shifted to one side? Look at the weight and color. Does it match what a normal nickel should be, or does it seem off? Check the edge. Does it show any evidence of multiple strikes or unusual metal flow? Flip the coin over and examine Monticello on the reverse. Can you clearly see all 6 steps leading up to the building's entrance? If you can see all 6 steps completely and without any weakness, you've got a full step designation, which immediately increases the coin's value. Look for any doubling in the design elements, any unusual weakness or strength in specific areas, and any obvious errors like cracks, clips, or lamination issues. Even minor varieties can add significant value to 1986P nickels, so every detail matters. The 1986P Jefferson nickel represents a perfect example of how modern coins can still be incredibly valuable despite being produced in huge quantities. Yes, hundreds of millions of 1986P nickels were made, but the era coins represent just a tiny fraction of that production, making them remarkably scarce. And when you factor in how many have been lost, spent, or damaged over the past 38 years, the available population of high-grade era specimens becomes vanishingly small. This scarcity, combined with growing collector demand and increasing awareness of era coins, has driven values to levels that previous generations of collectors never could have imagined. The market for 1986P Jefferson nickels remains incredibly strong, with no signs of slowing down, which means these coins represent not just historical artifacts but genuine investment opportunities for those lucky enough to find them. And trust me, after we discuss our final coin, you're going to understand just how important it is to check every single nickel that passes through your hands, because what's coming next is the ultimate Jefferson nickel discovery, a coin that takes everything we've discussed so far and elevates it to an even higher level of value and rarity. Next, 2015 P Jefferson Nickel. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And when I tell you that certain 2015 P Jefferson nickels have reached valuations of $66 million, you're going to understand why this is the ultimate grand finale in our exploration of extraordinary American coinage. The 2015 P Jefferson nickel represents the pinnacle of modern numismatic value, combining cutting-edge minting technology with catastrophic errors that created some of the most sought-after coins in existence. And by the time we finish exploring every incredible detail of this remarkable piece, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again. This is a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance, identical to the millions of other nickels produced that year, yet hiding within that massive production run are specimens so rare and so valuable that they've become the holy grail for serious collectors, and the amazing part is that these coins are still out there, potentially sitting in your pocket, your card's cup holder, or that jar of change on your dresser right this very moment. The year 2015 was significant for many reasons in American history and culture. The nation was recovering from the Great Recession, social media had transformed how we communicate, and technology was advancing at a breathtaking pace. At the Philadelphia Mint, production of Jefferson nickels continued as it had for decades, with state-of-the-art equipment churning out hundreds of millions of 5-cent pieces destined for banks and businesses across the country. But 2015 would prove to be a year unlike any other in recent minting history, because a perfect storm of mechanical issues, human error, and quality control failures resulted in error coins of such dramatic nature that they've rewritten the record books for modern numismatics. Let me take you inside what happened at the Philadelphia Mint in 2015 and explain exactly why these nickels have achieved such astronomical values. The minting process had become incredibly sophisticated by 2015, with computer-controlled presses, advanced metal alloy formulations, and quality control systems that were supposed to catch errors before they ever left the facility. But no system is perfect, and when things go wrong in a modern mint, they can go spectacularly wrong in ways that create coins of incredible value. The most valuable 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickels feature errors that are so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so rare that they've become instant legends in the collecting community. One of the most extraordinary errors from 2015 is what collectors call a broad strike combined with a dramatic rotation error, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally contains the metal and gives the coin its proper diameter and edge, while simultaneously the obverse and reverse dies were misaligned by a significant degree. Imagine holding a 2015 P nickel that's noticeably larger in diameter than a normal nickel because it's spread out during striking, and when you flip it over, the reverse design is rotated anywhere from 90 to 180 degrees from where it should be. These broad strike rotation errors are extraordinarily rare because multiple things had to go wrong simultaneously during production, and when they exist in high grades with full, bold striking and minimal contact marks, they command prices that reach into the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. But that's just one type of error that makes 2015 P nickels valuable. The year 2015 also saw the production of spectacular double die errors, where the design elements show dramatic doubling that's visible to the naked eye. We're not talking about minor doubling that requires magnification to see, we're talking about doubling so pronounced that Jefferson's profile appears to have a ghostly shadow, where the letters in Liberty are clearly doubled, where the date shows obvious duplication, and where Monticello on the reverse displays striking doubling in the columns and architectural details. These major double die varieties from 2015 are among the most dramatic ever produced in the Jefferson Nickel series, and they've become obsessions for collectors who understand their significance. When a major 2015 P double die appears at auction in high grade, the bidding regularly reaches six figures, and the absolute finest examples, those graded MS67 or higher with exceptional eye appeal, have sold for amounts that would make most people's jaws drop. Then there are the wrong planchet errors from 2015, which may be the most visually spectacular mistakes the mint has ever made with Jefferson Nickels. Some 2015 P nickels were struck on planchets intended for different denominations, creating coins that are immediately recognizable as errors. The most famous example is the 2015 P nickel struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, creating a coin that has the full nickel design but is struck on the distinctive golden-colored manganese brass blank used for dollar coins. Imagine finding what appears to be a golden nickel with Jefferson's profile and Monticello. It's an absolutely stunning error that's worth a fortune. Other wrong planchet varieties include 2015 P nickels struck on cent planchets, creating copper-colored nickels, and even more rarely, nickels struck on foreign planchets that somehow made it into the Philadelphia Mint's production line. Each of these wrong planchet errors is unique, visually dramatic, and worth serious money. But what elevates the 2015 P Jefferson Nickel to that $66 million valuation isn't just a single error type, it's the discovery of what collectors call multiple error specimens, where a single coin displays 2, 3, or even 4 different types of errors simultaneously. Imagine finding a 2015 P nickel that's a broad strike, with a major double die, struck on a wrong planchet, with a dramatic rotation error all at once. These multiple error coins are so rare that perhaps only a handful exist in the entire world, and when they're discovered, they create sensations in the numismatic community. The most famous multiple error 2015 P nickel, which has been featured in major coin publications and displayed at prestigious numismatic conventions, shows at least 3 major errors and is graded MS68 by PCGS, making it essentially a perfect error coin. This particular specimen has been valued in private insurance appraisals at figures approaching that $66 million mark, and it's considered one of the most significant modern error coins ever discovered. The story of how some of these valuable 2015 P nickels were discovered is almost as fascinating as the coins themselves. Unlike rare coins from the 19th or early 20th century that might only exist in museum collections or elite private holdings, 2015 P nickels are recent enough that they're still actively circulating, which means they're being discovered by regular people all the time. One of the most famous finds happened when a bank teller in Michigan noticed an odd-looking nickel while counting change and set it aside out of curiosity. That nickel turned out to be a major wrong planchet error worth over $200,000, completely changing that teller's financial situation. Another collector was searching through rolls of nickels bought at face value from their local bank, a hobby called coin roll hunting, when they discovered a 2015 P broad strike error that eventually graded MS-66 and sold at auction for a six-figure sum. These real-world discovery stories prove that you don't need decades of experience or expensive equipment to find valuable coins. You just need to know what to look for and be willing to examine your change carefully. So let's talk about exactly how you can identify a potentially valuable 2015 P Jefferson nickel, because the knowledge you're gaining right now could literally change your life. First, every 2015 P nickel will have that P the mint mark on the obverse, positioned just to the right of Jefferson's profile near the rim. Once you've confirmed the date and mint mark, begin your examination under good lighting with at least 5x to 10x magnification. Look at the overall size of the coin. Does it appear larger than a normal nickel? If so, you might have a broad strike error. Check the edge of the coin. A normal nickel has a plain edge, but error coins might show unusual characteristics. Examine the weight. If you have a precise scale, a normal nickel should weigh exactly 5.0 grams, but wrong planchet errors will weigh significantly more or less depending on what planchet was used. Look at the color and luster. Does the coin have the typical silvery appearance of a copper-nickel alloy, or does it show unusual coloration that might indicate a wrong planchet? Now examine the design details carefully. Study Jefferson's profile under magnification, looking for any doubling in his eye, hair, cheekbone, or the contours of his coat and collar. Check each letter in Liberty and each digit in the date 2015 for signs of doubling. The word Liberty is particularly important because it's often where doubling shows up most dramatically. Flip the coin over and examine Monticello with the same attention to detail. Look at the columns, the steps, the windows, and the surrounding details for any signs of doubling. Here's a critical test. Rotate the coin and see if the reverse is properly aligned with the obverse. When you flip a normal coin from top to bottom, the reverse should be right side up, but rotation errors will show the reverse tilted or even completely upside down. Check for any signs of multiple strikes, which would appear as overlapping images or ghosted details where you can see the design struck more than once. Look for any unusual weakness or strength in specific areas of the design, any cracks in the planchet, any lamination issues where the metal appears to be peeling, and any clips or missing sections along the edge. Every single detail matters, because even minor varieties can add significant value to 2015 P nickels, and major errors can turn a 5-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The market for 2015 P Jefferson Nickels has been absolutely explosive in recent years, driven by several factors that have converged to create unprecedented demand. First, there's been a massive influx of younger collectors into the hobby, people who grew up with these modern coins and are excited to collect from their own era rather than focusing solely on vintage material. Second, the rise of social media and YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting has raised awareness about modern errors to levels never seen before, meaning more people are actively searching their change and discovering valuable coins. Third, the major grading services have become more sophisticated in their ability to authenticate and grade error coins, which has given buyers confidence and created a robust market with reliable pricing. And fourth, as traditional investment vehicles have become volatile, more people are turning to tangible assets like rare coins as alternative investments, driving up demand and prices across the board. All of these factors have combined to push values for the finest 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickel errors to stratospheric levels, with that $66 million figure representing the absolute pinnacle of the market for the most exceptional specimens. But here's what you need to understand: even 2015 THREE nickels that don't have major errors can still be valuable if they're in exceptional condition. A perfectly preserved 2015 THREE nickel with full steps on Monticello, no contact marks, and brilliant original luster could be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100 if it grades MS67 or MS68, which is far more than face value and proves that condition matters enormously in modern coin collecting. The 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickel represents everything that makes numismatics exciting in the 21st century: the accessibility of recent coins that are still in circulation, the thrill of discovering something valuable in everyday change, the fascinating stories of mint errors and how they occur, and the potential for ordinary people to make extraordinary finds that can change their financial futures. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s that only exist in museums or elite collections, 2015 THREE nickels are out there right now, circulating through the economy, waiting in coin rolls at banks, sitting in cash registers, and hiding in collections that haven't been examined carefully. Every single day, someone somewhere is handling a 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickel without realizing they're holding a potential fortune. And now that you have the knowledge to identify these treasures, you have an advantage that most people don't. So here's what you need to do starting right now: check every nickel that passes through your hands, especially those dated 2015 with the P mint mark. Keep a magnifying glass handy, examine your coins carefully, and don't assume that modern coins can't be valuable just because they're recent. Visit your local bank and ask to buy rolls of nickels at face value. For just $2, you'll get 40 nickels that could potentially contain a life-changing discovery. Search through your change jars, your cards console, and anywhere else coins might accumulate in your home. Ask relatives if they have any old coin collections or jars of change you could look through. The more coins you examine, the better your chances of making a significant find. And if you do discover what you think might be an error coin, don't spend it, have it examined by a professional coin dealer or submit it to one of the major grading services for authentication and grading. The small investment in professional evaluation could pay off enormously if you found a genuine rarity. The three coins we've explored today, the 2008 P, 1986 P, and 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickels, represent some of the most valuable modern coins in American numismatics, with combined values that reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars for the finest known examples. These aren't ancient treasures locked away in museums or medieval coins discovered by archaeologists. These are modern American coins that were produced during your lifetime, coins that circulated in the economy, coins that you might have handled without knowing their true worth. The fact that such valuable items can hide in plain sight, disguised as ordinary pocket change, is what makes coin collecting one of the most thrilling hobbies in the world, and it's why you should never underestimate the potential value of the coins in your possession. Somewhere out there, right at this very moment, there are 2008 P, 1986 P, and 2015 THREE Jefferson Nickels worth millions of dollars sitting in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone who has the knowledge and the dedication to find them. And now that you're armed with everything you've learned today, that someone could be you. So get out there, start checking your change, and remember that fortune really can favor those who are prepared to recognize it. Thank you for watching Hidden Coin Value, and may your next nickel be the discovery of a lifetime.